Welcome to the first episode of Brandon Talks Fights podcast. Brandon Talks Fight podcast, named to be undetermined.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna figure it out as we go. But I'm here with Technical Fury, Coach Daniel Nelson, coming from Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Charlottesville.
Gracie Charlottesville.
Yeah. Coming from Gracie Charlottesville. I saw him Saturday for the SKC 5 event.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun show.
It was a great card. Wow.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, a lot of amateurs brought on good heat. The two pro fights were interesting.
Mm-hmm. Some good knockouts.
Some really good knockouts.
Yeah, some controversy with the draw, and some people had to get kicked out of the place and everything. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was a good fight. Good card. I'm glad I was working the fight interviews, so check out my Instagram, bhalley.fights.
Mm-hmm.
I did all the interviews, the pre-fight, post-weigh-in, and post-fight interviews. Had a great time doing that, so thank you to everyone who made that event possible, who made that event an awesome show, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to all these fighters. I had a great time.
Yeah.
And then through that connection, I was able to actually talk to Mr. Yair Velasquez, who's actually your student. He's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
Chill guy. I want to get started into your history of martial arts.
Okay.
So talk to me about how you got into martial arts, how long you've been doing it, and talk to me a little bit about your background.
Sure. My name's Daniel Nelson. I'm 31 years old. I started training at age 16, so that's about 15 years. 2009. My nickname is Gumby. Gumby is a nickname I got actually from jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
I was pretty flexible when I was younger. Yeah. I'm still kind of flexible, but it's more like average for like martial artists.
Yeah.
But somebody was putting me in an Americana, and they were doing it a little incorrect, and they were like, "This kid's made of rubber," and then that evolved into somebody like a boomer just being like, "He's Gumby," and then I didn't know who Gumby was.
Yeah, who's Gumby?
Do you not know who Gumby
I don't know
is?
who Gumby is.
Oh, this is even better. So I thought that Gumby, you're going to put Gumby on the screen right here. It's going to be great because he's not what you think. So I thought Gumby was Mr. Fantastic, so like super length, can like stretch out and all that.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck yeah, I'm Gumby. And I go home and look it up, and he's a kid's toy. And I was like, no way. I'm 16 years old. I'm doing this to be cool and be tough and be manly, and it's this green toy that like is like a wiry toy that you can bend up and stuff. And he's got like no fingers. He's just got his thumbs, but he's got a head that's slanted like this.
Oh, okay? I think I have seen.
And he's
Gumby.
green. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Eddie Murphy made him famous on Saturday Night Live, being like, "I'm Gumby, damn it."
Okay, so I do know.
Yeah.
Gumby.
There's a whole lot to that. Yeah. So that's how I got the nickname, and for like the first month, I did not like it. Like people would call me it, and they would just laugh.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna do? Like, I'm 16 years old. I walk into the gym, and pro fighter sitting on the ring, wrapping his hands. I think his name's Jack, and we'll tag him or some shit. But Jack was wrapping his hands.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What's up, Gumby?" I'm like, "Don't call me that." He's like, "Whatever, Gumby. Like, we're calling you Gumby now that you don't like it, So that over the years, eventually I started liking it enough to where when I go fight and stuff, they would say Daniel Gumby Nelson.
Yeah, that's cool.
And now there's memes out there of like, don't be afraid of like the Hulk, be afraid of the dorky kid with glasses named Gumby, because his guard is ridiculous or something. But like I said, I got it from jiu-jitsu, but for a kickboxer, I'm probably average, maybe slightly above average flexibility. I didn't work on it. I didn't do ballet. I didn't do gymnastics or something to like have more flexibility. I just naturally had above average flexibility. Yeah. In fact, so much so that when I went to Thailand, they were like, "What's your name?" "Daniel." I just like, I'm not even like everybody in the room. Like most people could open their stretches a little wider than me.
Yeah.
And there would be people that could like do like a what I call like a negative, where like they can open their legs and they'd put a chair or something and they'd bend it even further. Like I'm not Gumby in that room. No, like I'm just a dude.
Yeah, I would not say I'm that flexible. I'm not Gumby level for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. What brought you at 16 into a martial arts?
Yeah. So I wanted to join the Marine Corps after high school.
Okay.
I did Air Force JROTC at Deep Run High School. And I knew that boot camp was going to beat me up and going to be tough. And I didn't do any other like contact sports. I swam competitively for 4 or 5 years. But I didn't even like play football in the backyard. I was like really like a wussy kind of kid, you know? So I just knew that I really enjoyed like the tactics and the like fighting and war and all that stuff. And so I started looking up like a gym, like where to train. And I was either going to do like karate or MMA. And then I watched Never Back Down with a bunch of friends. You know, like a bunch of idiots. We went outside and decided to do said thing. Fuck. So I was one of those kids. And we went outside and we were like, oh yeah. But like we don't want to get in trouble, so we're not going to do any strikes. So essentially we did jiu-jitsu on grass.
Okay.
Ow. We did not wear shirts, so my back was all shredded up because I had no guard and no nothing. So watching the movie inspired me. I was like, okay, I'm going to find an MMA gym. And at the time, CSCRVA was called Combat Sports Center. But it was run by the head instructor, Crew Brian Crenshaw, who is president of World Kickboxing Association. He's vice president of World Kickboxing Association, but he's president of the Americas. So he's like the head of like this whole side of the world. But he helped develop McMAP, Marine Corps Martial Arts. And I was like, that's it. That's the place I want to go. That's an interesting story how I started. I got into the gym, scrawny little guy. I'm the same frame that I am today, 5'9". So like I didn't get any taller or lengthier or whatever. But right now I'm about like 165, 170. Back then I was like 130 with jeans on. So very thin.
Yeah.
And I went in there and did like an intro. So like I tried out a jiu-jitsu class, I tried out a Muay Thai class.
Okay.
And Crew Brian was my instructor for the intro for Muay Thai. And after the intro was done, like I was definitely that, how do I put this? Let me back up a little. During that intro, I was very much like that nervous kid that like, I gotta learn all this.
Yeah.
Like every word he says is super valuable, you know, like, and I'm like shaking. And we all, if you've run intros before, you've seen that person, okay? So I was that nervous person. Went through the intro, went through the jiu-jitsu intro, went back to the front desk, and Crew Brian is there, and he's talking to me, going, all right, so here are the options to sign up. You can do this, this, and this. You can do a 12-month agreement. But the most savings is if you pay for the whole year up front. You'll get an additional 15% off. And I said, okay, I'm going to do that. And I think he looked at me like, no way. And then even worse, I said, I will be back in a month to pay for it. And I'm sure he was like, well, I did an intro for a kid that's probably not going to sign up.
Yeah.
So I knew that I needed to get $1,000 together, and I had like a month or so to get it done. I had a little bit of money together, and I was doing. I took my first job as landscaping, like every young man does in the summer, and I cut grass and all that stuff, and got all my money together. I had $1,200 all together. It was all the money I ever could get together, and I bought like shitty Neverlast gloves from Dick's Sporting Goods, like every single first person does, and some shitty shin guards, and I didn't even have like training basketball shorts, so I bought a bunch of those and some shirts and stuff to train in, and I bought a really terrible gi. I bought a Century is a good brand, okay, but at the time, to do jiu-jitsu for the first time, a double weave Century gi was not in the cards for me. It was just not a good gi. Okay. That thing, you put it up like this and it would stand. Like its lapel was super stiff.
Yeah. Non-breathable.
Non-breathable.
Yeah.
No, I was in a sauna. It was awful. But that was like $150,
Yeah.
and then $1,020 was the cost for the whole year.
Okay.
So the first time I ever wrote a check in my life, I'm writing it to give it to Crew Brian
Yeah.
to pay for a year. So I did come back and I
Yeah.
did sign up. And during that first year, I don't think I missed a day. I was obsessed. I was terrible,
Yeah.
but obsessed. I would put myself in situations to like spar and train with everybody. And in retrospect, I was just a kid. So they were probably like, the kid's here. All right, well, I'm not going to tell him no, but we'll put him in. He's just going to get his ass beat.
Yeah.
You know? And I didn't realize it at the time, but I'm like, 2 weeks in asking a WEC fighter, like, hey, can I work in? But I said it so casually that he thought I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I bet within like 5 seconds of him grappling with me, he's like, oh, fuck,
mind.
what have I
Yeah.
done? But Anthony Morrison was that WEC fighter. He ended up fighting Matt Brown in the WEC. That's probably his most prestigious fight. But Anthony Morrison took me under his wing, and he gave me my first pair of MMA gloves and
That's awesome.
all this craziness. But that's how my first year started. By the end of the first year, I had fought Muay Thai a couple of times as an under 18-year-old, which back then was less common. Now it's awesome with
Yeah.
all these like developmental leagues, like Muay Thai Development League and the WK scrimmage events and these IKF, like light contact tournaments and stuff. It's a really great avenue for people to like get involved even at a younger age and not feel like they're in danger.
Yeah.
But back then that stuff wasn't there, so
Yeah.
it was pretty taboo for a high school kid to like be fighting Muay Thai in America.
It was always full contact back then.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
straight up was, yeah.
I didn't even know what a point-based, like a light contact
I didn't
was.
even, like, I had never heard of that until I fought in a world tournament and I saw like point karate, like on the mats.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, that sucks. But, that was a little different. That was super extreme, like delicate. Like point karate is like, bam, okay,
Reset.
stop, reset, point awarded,
Yep.
and they go again,
Yep.
which develops certain skills. But I can get into that later. But I finished my first year. I had done, 2 or 3 grappling tournaments and got smashed. And I was 1-1 in Muay Thai because I did I had one fight K1 rules and I had one fight Muay Thai rules. And I think I lost split decision my first fight at K1 rules. And then I won the Muay Thai fight with a second round TKO. But yeah, it was awesome. So I get all the way to the year where obviously the payment is due again.
Yep.
And I didn't get a job. All I did was just train.
Oh yeah.
So I just kept training. I kept training. I went to school. My gym bag went with me all over the place. And I went to go to the gym, and then like the coach was like, hey, it's time for you to make your payment or whatever. And I was like, oh shit, like bro, I didn't get any money together at all. And Micah was there, and I think Brian told me, okay, let me go show you something. And he like pulled me to the back, and he pulls the mop bucket out, and he's like, Micah's gonna show you how to clean the mats. And so I cleaned the mats.
Yeah.
And then he said, do that every night. I'm like, okay. And then like the next day, I'm like, all right, so wait, how am I gonna do my membership? He's like, just do that every day. So I cleaned
nice.
I cleaned the mats, and
Yeah.
that was like my tuition for a couple years.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more. Like eventually, I did get a job, and like my schedule changed, and I eventually started paying memberships again. But for the rest of high school, for sure,
Cool. What was your
I was just doing
relationship
the mats.
with Crew Brian at the time? I mean, he must
At
have
the
seen something in
time,
you.
I didn't know him very well.
Yeah.
He was like just somebody that was really, I don't want to say, how do I put this? He was just like an authoritative figure in the gym.
Yeah.
But he was standoffish might be the right word. He was just like, he wouldn't talk to you unless you spoke to him. So, but every time he spoke about martial arts, it was like everybody shut up and listened. Because it's something about like an older looking man that's explaining martial arts that owns the business. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, his life's devoted to this. Like, we should shut up,
Yep.
pay attention. And I didn't know anything about what he had done or anything. I just knew he owned the gym. And over time, he cornered me during fights, and then years later, the gym had like a big change where it moved to a different location. And when that happened, opportunities came up for me to like coach. And you know, when gyms change or divide or whatever, you know how the gym politics can be.
Yep. Absolutely.
No one's right, no one's wrong. They're all right, they're all wrong. You know, whatever. But so things happened, and in the separation, I stayed with Brian, and there was a very big divide in my life where I could have done this and I could have done that. But
When you fix that lighting again.
all right, you want to do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
And when the gym went through like a big divide
Yeah.
and everything, I was given more leadership positions, like you know, assisting with kids classes and eventually running a Friday night class, and then, you know, hey, people are going to be out of town, I need you to cover these classes, and that's how slowly you eventually start work for a gym. But my goal was almost always to work for the gym. I love this stuff. So I didn't really seek out other jobs and stuff. I was like a bum who lived with his parents that just kind of forced myself into the position of where I needed to find work within martial arts. So I didn't know Crew Brian very well until the gym moved to CSC RVA. It was at Team Combat for a little while, and then it moved to a bigger location on Deep Rock Road, and it got really like large. I think it got larger than it could handle. And then things happened, and the gym got separated, where the jiu-jitsu program ran to go do this, and you know, whatever. So we were just with a striking program. And Trevor Rajan and Trevor fought in Glory. At the time, he had had a few fights, and I had had a few fights. We were being picked up by Brian Crenshaw to go to practice at a soccer field or soccer kind of like place or whatever, to like practice 2 or 3 times a week. And it was just like a ragtag of like 10, 15 people. And Crew Brian Crenshaw did his very best to like keep us close and then look for a location. Then he opened up a location. When he did that, then we sort of had to like make a decision, like what are we gonna do? And Trevor and I saw Bang Bang Kickboxing, and we saw you know, Brian's situation, and we trained at both. But when we talked about it, I remember telling Trevor, like, well, let's try to break down the idea. So we can be little fish in a big pond if we go with Francois, because Francois already fought in Glory and was very high level. He even boxed on ESPN, very high level striking. Or we can be big fish in a little pond. We could be the two, you know, highest level people, but in a much smaller program. But we would get instruction from, you know, Crew Brian. So we decided to go that route, and that's another big fork in the road that like I remember taking that exit ramp and like, oh man, this could be a big change, and it did. For a while, I looked on those decisions and thought about like, did I make the right ones or not? But over time, I've come to terms with it, and I'm happy with the decisions that I made.
Yeah.
But yes, that is how I got to know Brian, was those opportunities which led to more and more responsibilities. After running classes for a little while, a couple years, eventually there was a front desk guy at the gym, and then the front desk guy did not work at the gym. And at the time, I was just making not cold calls for the gym, but we would have like leads, and I would call them to try to sign them up. And that responsibility evolved into running the front desk. So then I did admin work trained, fought, and I worked at CVS for a couple of, maybe about a year, maybe 2 years there. But yeah, that's how I really got involved with the gym. Eventually, I was offered more and more responsibility at the gym, and I made the decision to not work for CVS. And I really remember that day. It was like, I'm going to commit to martial arts being my source of income for the rest of my life. And I have video actually of me. It's at home. I didn't like make a big scene at CVS, but I have video of me taking the name tag off and throwing it in the trash can. So, you know, it was a big life decision. And did I make a lot of money? No, not for a long time. And even to this day, I make close to the same, but not a lot. So, but you do it because you love it, not because of the money.
Yeah.
But yes, what was next?
For a lot of people, it's like they journal, like they write their statements. You know, I actually talked to a fighter this weekend about before he went out on stage. He wrote his statement in his journal, and it was, "You're doing this for your son." It was Christian, the guy who won the fight of the night.
Good.
And he said he talked about before he went out, because he was so nervous, he almost threw up going out there.
Wow.
But he wrote it in his journal that you're doing this for your son, and then that's how he was able to. He got dropped in the first, dropped in the second, dropped his opponent, and then came back and won the whole
That
fight.
is an amazing fight.
Yeah, that was an amazing
really,
fight.
Really
it's
awesome.
Like you throwing away your name tag in the trash can is almost like that.
Yeah,
very
it's
similar
a defining moment.
Yeah, do you reflect back on that video a lot?
I don't necessarily look at the video a lot, but
it lives in your head.
It lives in my head.
Yeah.
And when it's really tough financially, or it's really tough, like I'm feeling burnt out or something, I remember what it was like to work at CVS, and I go, no, I know that I'm good at this, and this is what I want to do. At the time, it was like, I want to work martial arts and I want to fight as much as I can and try to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
And those goals changed over time, but it still never got off of martial arts. So let me see. That was a defining moment, I would say. Yeah.
So when did you go from being, I guess you're still Gumby, but when did you go from that to being Technical Fury? So talk to me about your Instagram journey to that.
Yeah. So this is the logo. Technical Fury. The logo is only recently designed about a year or so ago, and it's based off of the Dark Knight symbol that I have on my shin. I was fortunate enough to knock a few people out with my right leg, so I always wanted to get like a Batman tattoo. I've been a Batman fan since I was a kid. So I'm gonna go on a tangent about Batman. So when I was little, I would watch Batman the animated series, and it was the shit. It was like, I was like, oh my god, it's a superhero I could actually be. I didn't even sympathize with people that were like fans of Superman. I was like, why? Like, you literally cannot be Superman. I mean, you can like Spider-Man's personality because he's quirky and funny and a dork, and he can like accomplish all the things. That's awesome, but you still can never shoot webs.
Yep.
So come on now. Now Batman, over time, I've realized that even Batman's accomplishments are kind of ridiculous. Like, he's not only the greatest detective, but he's the most fit human being of all time. He's got what seems to be an infinite amount of money. You know, like, how does he recover from all these injuries? Like, he was just stabbed last week, and now what is going on? So to me, Batman has been the embodiment of the human potential, and that's what's inspiring. Batman, when I was younger, it was possible, and now it's like, it's plausible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, Batman still jumps like 25 feet in the air, and you're like,
he needs to be signed.
That's not real. Like, come on, bro. But you know, he's got his rule about not killing people, which, it's a tough one. Yeah, I think the Joker's got to go. But there's probably something to do with his trauma, which a lot of us can relate to, where he's like got a strange attachment to his trauma, where he wants to keep reliving it. He wants to keep going to that dark place.
Yeah.
And I think until Batman ever decides to like put up the cowl, which I'm sure he has in certain comics, the trauma just will keep reliving and reliving, and because he likes going back to that well. He likes going back to that dark place to get that extra confidence, whatever he needs.
Kind of like that.
Does that make sense?
Fighter mindset.
Yeah.
Because some fighters, they tap into their trauma. They tap into the dark places in their life to feel that need for.
Yeah. That's a good segue. So when we talk about fighters, I think that every single fighter has something that fighters are not okay up here. I mean, you can find fighters that are clearly crazy, right? And then you can find fighters you're like, oh, he's got his shit together, but he fights. And you're like, oh, there's something else that we just don't know yet. Or maybe he just doesn't want to tell anybody. And that's okay too. But everybody has their reason why. And for some people, it's really personal. Some people it's really apparent. You can tell when a middle-aged mom comes into the gym and she's shaking during the intro. And she's like soft-spoken. You're like, oh, okay, well, yeah, she's been abused or something. Something bad has happened to her. You don't need to know what it is, but, you know, that's why she trains, right? And for young men, it's more complicated. It could be an abusive father. It could be an absent father, and they're just angry. Could be that they're just angry and they don't know what to do with that energy, you know. But some men are touched inappropriately, and they're not comfortable with talking about it, and so they find that this is like a quiet way. Well, this is a way for them to work on their trauma without like putting it out in the world that they're working on their trauma. I don't know. That was actually pretty inaccurate. But they're working on it, and they're not like wearing a shirt like, hey, I was touched by my uncle or some shit, you know. But we all have something, and I think that's part of why fighting is so innate. That we all want to like a little part of you wants to try it, wants to do it, right? It's in us all. We've all got our own story. We've all got something bad that happened, and something we wish we could just kick and scream and let it, you know, fix it. You know?
So you don't think fighting is just part of human nature?
I think it is. There's something about the testosterone and like the, you know, like something about like human ancestry and all those things. But there's also something about the modern fighter tends to have something that happened in their life. You know? Okay. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, modern humans are very different from anything that we've seen in the human, you know.
And if it's not something bad that happened, then they're the bad thing. I know that might sound really controversial, but if it's not like touched by an uncle or beat up by dad or whatever horrible thing, then they just have a malevolent or evil side that they've got to push that out somewhere. Yeah. Right? And thankfully, they do it on the bag, they do it in sparring, they do it in the ring.
There's a proper outlet.
There's an outlet that's not beating their girlfriend or beating up their wife or whatever. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I asked that question because, like, you know, throughout human history, I mean, we've always had war since the dawn of any intelligent creatures. But we look at like ancient Greece, like pancration. Like we've always had some sort of combat system, some sort of ways for men to fight each other for glory, for money, or whatever it is. So,
I mean, the reason why they call it a ring, but it's a freaking square. A ring's a circle. That's, when you get in the ring, it's a square. That doesn't make any sense. It's because they used to draw a circle on the sand, and they'd get in. So it was a ring originally. Now we've got ropes and all these other more modern things, but we just still call it a ring.
Do you prefer fights in a circle cage, an octagon or like a 6-sided shape
My
or a ring?
my experience has mostly been in a square ring. Okay, so I mean that's what I'm most used to.
Yeah.
But there's some things that are, of course, there are things that are unrealistic about it. There are such things as corners in real life, so you can get stuck in a real corner.
Yep.
The only trick is the corner's like this, but there's only like ropes. So when I throw a body kick or high kick and it goes between the ropes and I don't smash my foot through the wall, I can still throw my kick, no problem. But in real life, there's a wall.
Right.
And so you might have to choose different strikes accordingly. The cage is a little more realistic. Oh man, I have like a straight up fear that if I throw a kick and it goes like across the cage, it would be
going through the.
it would hurt so bad.
Yeah, when I first fought in the cage, I was kind of shocked at like how hard the cage fences are. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting.
Yeah.
But I was expecting a little more give. There's no give.
No,
I
no.
like hit that thing and it's a complete cinder block.
Yeah, and then in a cage when you are backing up and you step on the corner,
Yeah, you know that.
dude, it's like a oh shit moment.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't have that.
Yeah, we don't have.
There's space. Your feet can go. So it's pros and cons. I don't believe in the Joe Rogan thought of like doing a basketball field.
No, I don't really understand that. Like, he's been in martial arts longer than I have.
I understand what he's saying, that it might be more realistic.
Yeah.
But I would also argue that every time you fight somebody, there's a wall eventually.
Yeah, but
So you can make it bigger.
I also don't see the necessity to make it a bigger field of play. Every sport has a field of play. We just chose to have one that's small enough so that people can see into it, I guess. I don't really see an issue with that. But again, he's been in the martial arts way longer.
Sure.
Longer than I've been alive. So,
Sure.
I
I
hear it out,
think
but-
he's saying something about like wall wrestling and stuff like that. But I do think that wall wrestling has so much benefits in self-defense.
Yeah.
Because most of the time when you fight somebody, it's in a place where there's going to be a wall.
Yeah, they got you pinned on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to know how to fight off of it.
Yep.
Maliki, man, he really knows his stuff. I was doing some wall wrestling and wrestling with him yesterday.
Yeah.
Man, he's got all the details and everything. He learned a lot of it from American Top Team. I was told that he was a coach there and stuff.
Yeah, he's like a jiu-jitsu coach there. He helped coach the MMA fighters. He helped develop the wall grappling system there too.
Yeah.
He's a badass guy.
Yeah. No. To me, like, there's wrestling, and then there's wall wrestling, and wall wrestling is not the same. It's like strangely related to jiu-jitsu because it looks like you can shrimp on the wall. It's like it's really different. But it's just not my forte. I started doing it, I'm like, oh, I made a mistake. I can feel when I've made mistakes, but I don't have a sense of direction of where to go. So I'm a little lost on the wall wrestling area.
I think having walls in martial arts is important because it adds a counterplay.
Yeah.
Like nobody likes playing a game where a character is fucking broken because there's no counterplay. You can't do anything about their abilities or anything.
The last idea is you could do what Chinese kickboxing does. Sanda. Sanda. And they don't have ropes. Like the platform is raised just like it is in a ring. And if you side kick them and they fly off, ring out.
Yep.
That's awesome. I am not 100% on the rules, so I'm sorry, Sanda practitioners. But I believe that it's counted as a takedown, and then if there's a certain amount of them, you're just awarded the win. But Sanda, please tell me I'm right or wrong. I think you have a really interesting sport. And it needs more love. Oh my God, it does. Because it's got like all the takedowns that MMA fights and stuff have. And then it's like Muay Thai is limited to a particular types of takedowns. But Sanda, man, they catch a kick and they judo throw somebody and like, oof, But
They don't wear the gi for that one, right? They wear like a body shield.
No, they wear like a body protection. At a high level, they're not even wearing shin guards. They're just wearing like small boxing gloves.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's really interesting.
It's interesting like how close Sambo and Sanda is to each other, but like a little different.
Yeah.
And I wonder what the decision of adding a gi versus no gi.
Those two things are drastically different. I'm sorry to tell you.
Okay.
So, Sanda is a Chinese kickboxing art,
Right.
right? And Sambo is a Russian grappling art
Yeah.
that eventually developed like combat Sambo, which basically looks like MMA with a gi top.
Right.
So, and they all have merits. I just hope you didn't connect those things because of the words.
No. Like I was just like, oh, the names sound so similar.
Yeah.
And it's like I guess similar combat. Sanda they don't do ground and pounds,
Gotcha.
but Sambo they do, right?
Sambo, they
Yeah,
do.
exactly.
Yeah.
And Sanda they don't wear shoes.
No.
And Sambo they do.
Yeah. Shoes is an interesting factor. If you look into French-style kickboxing, savate, it's kickboxing with shoes.
Okay.
So it's in a ring.
Okay.
There's no takedowns or any of that. Punches and kicks. But they wear the stupidest outfit. Sorry, French. Y'all gotta pick. Y'all gotta pick something a little better. Okay. It's probably might be why it's not as popular. Okay. But they wear like a wrestling outfit, like a
singlet?
Singlet.
Yeah.
With a bell bottom. What?
But what is a bell bottom?
Okay, so the bottom of so instead of it stopping as shorts,
Okay.
it goes all the way down and
Okay.
it opens up. But you're wearing shoes.
Like a cowboy style, like jeans.
Like
a wide
70s
opening.
pants.
Why do they do
What? French, I don't know. I don't know why they
that?
did.
This is the fashion capital of the
I
world.
guess.
Okay.
But the shoes make it really interesting. The kicks are different.
Yeah.
They're allowed to kick the legs, which is good. And they do a lot more snap kicks. They do more than one kick before they put their leg down,
Okay.
along with regular Western boxing techniques.
Interesting.
So punches like normal. There are certain matches that are like points where like this punch worth this, that punch worth that, blah blah blah. But you can also find it in more of a combative form where it's done in a ring for knockouts.
Okay.
But the shoe changes the game because you can kick somebody in the shin and it hurts instead of hurting your foot.
Right.
Or you can, notoriously, they do like a round kick, right? Like a tie. No, it's not like a tie kick. It's like a snap kick in karate.
Yeah.
But their foot is pointed.
Toes in. Yeah.
Yeah. So you did this 3-point block, and they fit their shoe in between and hit you in the solar plexus.
Yeah. A lot of karate guys do that. The Maegeri.
You know, they do, but
my toes.
personally, I'm scared of my toes.
Yeah. I try every time I try to do it, I hit someone's elbow every time.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
'cause
afraid.
not
I'm
good
afraid
at
I'm
it,
gonna
but-
do it, and then I'm gonna look at my foot, and my toes gonna be like hanging off the side.
Like Masaki Noriri from, I guess he's at one now, not even K1 anymore. He's always hitting that kick, and when you watch his pad work, he's always hitting that.
I think it
same kick.
requires a lot of toe flexibility and then
Yeah.
really high accuracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's awesome, man. Like not only is it like they find that angle and get in between the arms if somebody's face is standing over here, but even if you're like this, they might go around behind the elbow and still hit you.
I see.
So it's really interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Because I've only worn shoes for like 2-3 times for boxing, and even that changes the way I move around. Because I can't slide the way that I do in Muay Thai.
But I get some of this information from Karate Nerd on YouTube. But Savate, to my understanding from Karate Nerd, is like French sailors that like learned some karate, and then they wanted to like start to develop that into like a sport or self-defense. So why do they do all these kicks on one leg? Well, and they do these big arm motions.
Yeah.
And they use their arms because in the past they're on a boat fighting each other. So they're grabbing the ropes and doing more than one kick.
Interesting.
And then they're swinging back in. It's
That's
really
so
cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love to learn some savate.
What is a martial arts that you wish you were there for, like at the beginning? Like
At
when
the
it was
beginning?
Yeah. Because that sounds fucking cool.
That sounds really cool. I don't know if I want to be on those ships back then.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, so the fact that I have to live in that timeline, I'm pretty much.
Okay. We'll just say like.
Let's just say I
like
wish I could
SpongeBob teleport and you can come back.
I can come back. Okay, so if I can go and come back, Muay Thai's got an interesting background. Man, Muay Thai had like, uh, it's not Muay. Well, Muay Baran, of course, everybody's heard of that ancient style of Muay Thai, but that's still like a sport. But if you go back to Krabi Kerbang, which is like a swords and weapons system from Thailand, they use the weapons, and then in certain positions they still teep and they still kick, and it's a lot of the knee and specifically the elbow strikes, which I'm going to go over later today in the seminar, kind of come from that like holding a weapon, like whether it's down or up or different things. So that's really interesting to me, but that's probably that's a lot of different timelines I'd have to bounce to see like when it happened. There's a whole story about one famous Thai, and I don't remember his name, and I should, and he's super famous, that had to fight several people in front of the king to prove like the legitimacy of Muay Thai, and then it became the national sport and some other stuff. I'm butchering the history. Okay, he's gonna pull it up, and it's gonna look a lot better. But yes, somebody had to like fight people in front of the king and prove that Muay Thai was good.
That's bad.
And that's why we have one of our Muay Thai days.
He was a prisoner, right? Yeah, he was a prisoner, and then he fought all the guys in front of the king, and then he let him go because he was so badass. Is that the story?
I'm not sure.
wish
You
I
might be
knew the
crossing
history
that.
better.
Might be crossing that with another story.
Okay, all right.
Because there are still prisons that do that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I saw like an Instagram page by A.K.A, how they were using A.K.A gear and how they would talk about we supply prisoners with A.K.A gear and like help them reform, go from crimes, and they'll earn their freedom through fighting in Muay Thai in their tournament, and then they'll be professional Muay Thai fighters. I thought that's super cool.
Yeah.
I never heard of that until honestly just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Hopefully they don't learn deadly skills and then go out and then kill people. But
Right.
I think that Muay Thai's hard enough that there's going to be better off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they have a way of making money.
Well,
if they're good
in
enough.
Thailand.
Yeah.
But as far as what would I like to see the development of?
Yeah.
I think that there's two answers that come to mind.
Okay.
Mixed martial arts is a really interesting one. I mean, it started the same year I was born. Shout out to 93 babies. But, and there's the evolution of like, everybody does separate martial arts, like a freaking Mortal Kombat video game, to it slowly congealing together and forming its own martial art. So that's good. That's really interesting. Another one, if I go back a little further, and there are going to be some people that don't like Bruce Lee, that's fine. Okay, Bruce Lee is an amazing martial artist and a pioneer. Does he compare to mixed martial artists today? Probably not. But the stuff that he pioneered undoubtedly led to mixed martial arts. So, back then, if you trained Kung Fu at said school on 5th Street, you couldn't go to the Kung Fu school on 6th Street. No, you cannot. And, my secrets that I've learned from my sensei, my Sifu and their Sifu and their Sifu, they're not for 6th Street's Kung Fu school. So, he broke down barriers quite a bit in the sense that not only was it he learned more than one martial art, but he took it to America, which they were like, bro, like this is like our secret. This is how our culture was able, it feels more confident or is able to defeat larger people. Chinese people are notoriously the tallest and largest people in the entire world. So, you get my point.
Yes.
So like they wanted to have, their something that was for them.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. But over time, there's somebody that wants to revolutionize things, and he mixed in so many different elements and different martial arts, and he wasn't married to one style. And that's the essence of mixed martial arts. They always say, oh yeah, he made the first mixed martial arts, and yeah, he kind of did. But if you follow a system of learning more than one martial art, and you are choosing what's good and keeping it, and then you're like, this one's not going to be good in a mixed martial arts setting, and discarding it, you're doing JKD. JKD, Jeet Kune Do, is the martial art that he developed. But JKD is supposed to be your own. He has suggestions. There's the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, a book that he wrote when he was injured, where he talks about different methodologies and techniques. But the essence is like gather what is useful and discard what is useless. So I'm butchering that quote.
Formless.
Be formless, shapeless. Yeah. Water, my friend. Of course. But my instructor, Crew Brian Crenshaw, he learned under a bunch of different people, including Dan DeSanto. Dan DeSanto is probably the greatest martial arts instructor that's alive right now. He's in his 80s, and I really hope to meet him before he teaches his last class. Let me put it that way. But Dan DeSanto learned directly under Bruce Lee, so it's a nice lineage to that. And I've learned some Wing Chun and stuff under Brian, and we would call him Sifu if we're in a Wing Chun setting. It just means like teacher. It really means father, I believe. But some of those concepts from different martial arts, especially Wing Chun, have really helped me organize my thoughts and organize my techniques for other martial arts. And it really emphasizes efficiency. Economy of motion is a phrase that I've heard a lot in those circles. And it talks about inside and outside positioning and your hand positioning. So we all do hand fighting, whether you box, and that literally looks like hand fighting, like boxing, but let's get a little bit closer. Let's talk about like when you're about to clinch, or when you, just after you clinch, you're fighting for a position with your hands. You'll see it in wrestling, jiu-jitsu, they call it grip fighting. It's a little different when you can start to grab material, but same concepts. Wing Chun just put that into a different names and different hand positions. And, your Tan Sao and your Bong Sao and your Fuk Sao and all these different arm positions, they help you organize your hand fighting. Do I necessarily use an exact technique from Wing Chun? Maybe not, but a concept, yes. So I would love to see the evolution of JKD. That would be like the big one. Like watching Bruce Lee like develop stuff and pioneer things, and I'd love to see the confrontation of like when he did like put things together, and people were like, "Wow!" just mad at him and shit.
Yeah, so. I mean, he brought.
He started bringing safety equipment so that he could spar more. He's putting on like baseball shin guards and shit like that, so that people could actually spar. We wouldn't have that. I mean, somebody else might have figured it out eventually. Okay. But he's the first one, so he gets the credit. Like that's so big. To me,
I feel like he, not only that too, but he culturally changed how Americans view Asians.
Yeah.
And at the time in the country too.
Yeah.
So he's not only obviously an influential figure in martial arts too, but culturally, like in America, he's a very influential figure too. For me, I don't know. I was thinking, like, as you were talking about it, so I just watched 2001: The Space Odyssey, and there's a scene that the caveman, like the monkey, the chimp, like he's like looking at the floor, and there's like bones. And like he grabbed the bone, and like he starts hitting the hip bone, and he see it kind of like moving around.
Oh, and he's figuring things out.
Yeah, he's like, oh.
Ooga booga.
He's like starting to hit a little bit harder, and he sees it flying around. And I was thinking, I wonder what that moment was like, because wrestling has been grappling. Like wrestling has been something.
Well, the problem is, I'm going to stop you a little short, is that wrestling happened before we knew words.
Yeah.
So
I want to know like when we started figuring
when did we
out.
start going, hey, this is a move. This is the name of a move. Probably when it started to become a sport. Probably when somebody wanted to pay somebody to do it or watch somebody do it. Like Ooga Booga, Ooga Booga, Ooga Booga, Ooga, tomorrow, 2 p.m., you know, like whatever. Like my tribe, your tribe. But it wasn't for death. It was for something else, for a pin,
Right.
for dominance,
That's what I mean. Like when.
for
'Cause
probably an MMA fight.
anyone can take someone down, but it's the controlling aspect. So when we started dissecting human anatomy and say,
Yeah,
well,
the biomechanics of it.
if they're in turtle, we pull their ankle up like that, and we can split it, like we can push his hip into the ground. We can control better, or we can go into for jiu-jitsu, like we can go into crucifix. We can wrap our legs around his arms while we control his other arm from this position.
That's just gonna be biomechanics. And what's really interesting is every time in martial arts where we're like, there's a new technique being, it's not.
Yeah.
No one can create a new technique. We are all learning. We're all like borrowing from other older martial arts and stuff. We just don't know it. Like just simple hand fighting stuff. The wrestling coach doesn't say bong sao, lap, and then da, which probably just turns into a grab, so another lap. No, they just say strip the arm off and grab, get your collar tied. But like, who gets the credit? No one. Who cares? Like, just get over that shit. So, I don't know when. I don't know when you're gonna find like names for stuff. And then what's interesting is, if you're talking about a martial art back before the internet, before we had communication.
Yeah.
Japanese martial arts and Chinese martial arts. They were making the same techniques, or very similar techniques, but they did invent it, kind of, because they didn't know about the other one.
Yeah.
But there's only so many moves that the human body can do against another human body. Now, what's really interesting to me is if we started developing a system against other things. I always joke when I'm telling students, like when they're holding pads, like, look, you need to bring the pad to center line. So between my nose and your nose. And when they hit the pads, they need to feel like they're hitting the same spot. I tell them like there's like a ball right here in front of us. We're gonna meet at the front of the ball, we're gonna meet at the side or the top, right? But if you go like this, it's like fighting a two-headed monster.
Yeah.
And my joke is, if we are gonna develop a system for fighting a two-headed monster, I'm gonna have to make a different curriculum. So please, let's just fight one-headed monsters. Because it would be different.
Yeah.
So us versus an alien, or us versus something closer to our size, is a little more interesting. But the problem is, all animals would beat our asses without tools, for the most part.
Yeah.
So unless they're like too small, that it's not even worth conquering.
You mentioned something earlier, little fish in a big pond, or big fish in a little pond.
Yeah.
And then you actually just mentioned talking about mixing different arts.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've gained an interest in the last few months, honestly probably this year, of I want to go try karate, because I've never done karate.
Yeah.
And my school is a Muay Thai kickboxing school.
Yeah.
And of course, like, there's elements from it, but I want to go do like karate, like
karate.
like put the gi on and practice
can
the
if you want.
forms, and I want to go try that.
I don't want to
so-
upset Maliki, because he's a dangerous man.
Right.
Okay? I'm sure you could. I would imagine that you need to find a way to do it that doesn't disrupt whatever
my
training
coaching
schedule you've
my
got.
training schedule, yeah, for sure.
But you should do it as a hobby.
Yeah.
Do it twice a week.
Yeah.
And we talked about like the traditional side of things. You're going to get a little bit of the traditional stuff. Some of it's going to feel dumb. Why are we punching with our hands down? But, that's tradition, But, yeah, I mean, if you can learn from other stuff and just borrow or fit it into the game, then it's yours. Great.
Do you think that is something, in the pond conversation of, do you feel like fighters should explore other camps, other martial arts more often?
They do. We just talk about it in a funny way. Tony Ferguson famously did Wing Chun, and then you see it. Like you see him trap an arm and land an elbow. Okay, that's awesome. There's tons and tons of Taekwondo black belts that do MMA. And then they do a spin kick or a jump kick or something, and you know, credit's given to Taekwondo. But you know, you just need to find one that's fun. I think the problem is if it's just combative sports, it feels like it's just war. Ooga booga, my tribe versus your tribe. And so it's so stressful. You don't get to like go out and have fun and like learn something exotic or different. Now, is it a waste of time? Most likely, but it isn't if you have the right mindset about it or you pressure test it and try it. And that's what's missing in the traditional martial arts is just the pressure testing. I mean, karate's now got karate combat, and I don't know if you've seen that, but that's super legit. They allow takedowns of any sort. There's a pit. You know, you can have somebody laying on the pit, and you can hit them. That's a really cool.
They do low kicks now too. They're just adding that now.
Yeah, you're allowed to. My understanding is you can low kick below the knee.
Yeah, they're gonna actually add.
They're gonna add the
low
thighs.
Kicks. Yeah, they're gonna actually
it's
make
going
a
to
rule
turn into
change.
kickboxing, but that's fine.
And they're gonna have to make a rule change of the ref doesn't let you. The ref doesn't stop action when you're on the ground. You have to get back up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that those changes were
I
coming.
guess those are being proposed. I have some friends who are close to the karate combat. Folks over there.
I almost had Rodney, and we'll put a picture of him right here. But we almost had Rodney fight in karate combat. He's a crypto influencer. And,
you were telling me about him.
Yeah, Rodney's an awesome dude. Love his energy in the room. Always high energy and excitement. But he's like a big boy. I think he was going to end up fighting at light heavyweight or whatever. He's just big. And I missed doing lessons with you. I was supposed to do one with you today. I'll get you on Thursday. I'll wake you up at 7. Don't worry. But he was supposed to have a karate combat fight, and it was going to be like crypto influencers versus other crypto influencers.
Interesting.
The card didn't work out, and that's fine. But I think it was just to like kind of get more people involved and all that. And I think that they're sponsored by crypto or something. So
I think so.
I think it was like that was all in mind.
That's cool.
But I was so excited to be a part of that. But it didn't work out. But like you know, Rodney got some karate combat gloves. He gave me a pair of gloves. You know, and like he went to like a face-off and had like this really cool moment where he was like talking shit to the other guy and everything. But you know, those things happen.
Do you like it? Do you like seeing something like that, especially because the UFC is, you know, they don't do gimmick fights. They don't do like a quote-unquote circus show. Pretty much all their stuff is, you know, straight MMA business. Of course, there's a BMF belt. I don't mind it, but do you like seeing Karate Combat have a little bit more fun things? Like they're doing the pit submission series now too.
Well, the truth is, all of the athletes are coming from the UFC or other kickboxing organizations, so they're going to be on the other end of their career, or they did not find success in other organizations, so they're going to try and find it here. That's fine. You know that you're not like the premier organization, then play the games and have fun. You know, you need to separate yourself, and that's what's going to make you successful. You know, no, I love the Karate Combat events. I think that's really sweet.
Yeah, I'm starting to tune into them a lot more now, especially because they stream on YouTube.
Yeah,
and I watch
it's
it.
like straight up on YouTube.
Yeah, I enjoy watching that. I don't actually think we get to really touch on that. I think because our lighting broke. But the moment you decided to go from Gumby to Technical Fury, and you started your Instagram journey, when was that moment?
So I made the Instagram account in 2011, and
was it like how long ago was Instagram
20,
out back
I think
then?
it was 2013. I'm not sure. It was definitely more in its infancy. There were obviously no reels. There were hardly videos. It was mostly images.
Yep.
At the time, Trevor Rajan had like a booming Instagram where back then 1,000 followers was a lot. Okay, he had 1,000, and he was all so freaking proud of it. He was like, "Bro, you need to have one. Like, you're gonna fight and do all this stuff. You should have one." So he helped me write one or whatever and get it started. And I was getting ready to fight in Worlds. This might have been 2015. I think I was getting ready to fight in A.K.A. Worlds 2015. It was in Benidorm, Spain. And I've been doing these posts on Facebook where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to be the greatest Gumby I can be. You know, hashtag greatest Gumby. I was trying to make hashtags. Whatever. You know, when you look back on your shit and you're like, cringe.
Yeah, but hashtags were a lot bigger back then too.
Yeah.
So
I was starting to say that I was getting a lot of compliments on how technical I was, but I was always told that I needed to be a little meaner, a little more ferocious. So I started putting this hashtag that was like, hashtag like technical fury. Like I'm gonna be technical and mean.
Yeah.
Like if I can focus with the anger or the frustration or whatever kind of emotional energy into the technique, then man, I'm gonna hit with some force. So that's where the idea spawned. And then when I made an Instagram, I just made it technical_fury.
Yeah.
And I still get comments on it all the time.
It's a badass name. Badass
Now
name.
there's all these like channels on Instagram, you know who you are, that are like Muay Thai techniques and technical Muay Thai. Come on, you know what you're doing. There's one guy that I met in Spain. His name's Paul. He's a Muay Thai technician on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
He was my roommate in
What?
in
That's
Spain.
cool.
Yeah. So at the time, him and I were not very famous or anything, and he, I think his thing was like Muay Thai athlete was the name of his page for a while, and he eventually changed it to Muay Thai technician after he heard about mine. I don't know if you took my shit, or if I just inspired you, or if you had already planned it. But you're welcome, I guess. I don't know. But Paul, you're an awesome guy. So shout out to Paul. Paul is got amazing content that he puts out there. He lives in Phuket, Thailand, and he does a retreat. He started doing these like Thailand retreats, and I want to go to one. So let's figure it out.
Let's figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know how long they are, but like you get to train with him and train at his schools that he's at and everything at Powerhouse Muay Thai.
I like his like little like he always wears that black shorts with the light blue highlights.
Yeah,
that shit looks.
He's a big dude.
Fire. He's a big dude.
He's like 6'4". He is
built crazy.
big. Yeah. I love that guy.
I had no idea that you had connections with him. That's cool. I remember seeing
I watched him fight live in Glory a few times.
Yeah.
Man, he was the coolest dude at WKA Worlds 2015. So one, he was ruined with me.
Pro then?
Whatever. No, he was not pro then.
He was amateur then. Okay.
He was amateur then, but he his bracket had a Dutch that was in the finals.
Okay.
And the Dutch, we would walk around, and like we're Team USA. We got our USA jerseys on because WKA gives you like a warm up outfit and everything. And this Dutch guy was talking shit all week. Like he would like bump into him. Like him and I are all walking. We were like, "What the fuck? Like it's not like a TV fight. What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And at one point, the guy said something to Paul. He said, "You're gonna kiss my knee. You're gonna kiss my knee." And they eventually fought in the finals. Okay. And this was a bit of an intimidating fight because the Dutch had when we looked him up, he had 90 fights.
Okay.
And we're like, ugh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But he was kind of tall and lanky, like Paul. Now, of course, the Dutch most of his fights were kickboxing. So Paul fighting him in Muay Thai with elbows and stuff, he tried to exploit that. Mm-hmm. And shout out to Jason Farrell, who was his coach. What a badass coach. Love that guy. And I'll see you in a few days. I'm going to see you at the scrimmage event at your gym at Level Up Boxing. But he was telling him, tomahawk. It's like one of the last fights of the whole tournament. And so everybody's done fighting. We're all just cheering on the finals of like different people. And it's like, I think it was like maybe one of the last fights. And and fucking Jason Farrell's like, tomahawk. And to them, that was like that straight elbow, like you're throwing a tomahawk. Yeah. And man, he knocks him out with it in the corner. It was this whole big excitement. And when he laid out, Paul went up and he kissed his knee.
That's
it was
crazy.
like, let's go. It was so fucking
That's
awesome.
crazy. Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I know. I remember seeing his post, I don't know, like a month ago.
Yeah.
And he talked about, he said one day, like, I sat down with these guys and decided that we were going to start social media together, and like he helps people out.
I don't think that was me.
Okay.
Like I'd love to take credit for that,
Yeah.
but I think I just helped him change the name. Maybe I just inspired. You tell me, Paul. But yeah, so
cool.
that was a really awesome experience. Yeah, being able to fight internationally and stuff. I think I fought a French guy, and in Europe you were allowed to knee to the head. So
Really?
so I kneed that guy in the head. That was fun. But
What is the difference in I don't know what the word is, like priority of strikes between like Americans versus Europeans, so in your case French or Dutch guys?
Sure. In my opinion, everybody's in a giant bowl of soup, and we're all slowly blending it all together. So in 10 years, it will change, and it will be more and more blended, especially with the internet being out there and everybody readily available information. But you know, if you go back even 10 years ago, it was more separated.
Yeah.
Because the soup, you know, is being cooked, you know, so everything's heating up and really coming together. Naturally, they say Western style for Muay Thai is more of a Muay mat or a punch style.
Hey, punch out.
We have some great boxing in this country and on this side of the world with some of the, you know, Mexico and some of the, you know, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. There's a lot of really good boxing. Of course, the U.S. as well. So I would say that most people that fight in America are going to have better hands.
Okay.
When you look at Europeans, they also have really good boxing. They also have really good kickboxing. So I really like seeing the, you know, the Dutch style has got a lot of influence. Of course, it's in Europe, but like English kickboxers are really good. I think that it's more punch kick oriented.
Okay.
Right, and of course that leaves like Asia with being specifically Thailand is going to have a better clinch than everybody else, of course. Right, so clinch knees and elbows, and Asia in general tends to be more kick heavy, but all of these generalizations are like, it's kind of like I'm being racist. I'm not gonna lie. It's not like when you say something that's racist, you're making a general accusation, right? But when you're talking about martial artists, everybody can just fall in love with different techniques, so they can make their own freaking decisions.
Yeah.
So when you put them in a box, you're gonna get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
So I like your question, but it would lead to mistakes in judgment if you go spar a person that looks white and you're like, oh, they're gonna box me. Bam, I got kicked in the head.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, of course.
So it's just a generalization, but it cannot give guarantees.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand that point too, but I don't see that there's any issues with.
It's not in a negative. I'm just saying.
Saying, you know, because
I'm saying it's similar to
that Soviet
how,
style boxing, that in and out, and they don't sit down on their hooks; they slide back on their hooks and stuff like that. I always thought it's interesting to see different countries, and like K1 too. K1's really different because they sit in boxing range and then ta 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 ta, and then kick back to punching. Like it's constant volume. It's all volume, and they don't really turn on their hips because it's all that karate.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about a kick that's gonna upset the Thais tonight. So you're gonna like it.
Okay, cool. So we were talking earlier about your earlier journey when you went to Dick's Sporting Goods and you bought those Everlast.
Yeah.
Neverlast, you call them.
Neverlast, yeah.
So you obviously don't use Everlast or Neverlast or Everlast. So
I'm happy that you keep messing that up.
So what do you use now?
Well, I've been using Combat Corner. Combat Corner is a trusted company that I not only do I use it all, and I've used it for years, but when I worked for CSC RBA, which is Crew Brian Crenshaw School, for over 10 years or so, we've had that be the company that we sell equipment from.
Yeah.
We've used other brands, and I'm not going to name them. There's nothing wrong with like other brands and stuff. We just found that Combat Corner was the best. They were the best at getting the stuff to us on time. They gave us like very nice heavy bags.
Yeah.
And they have a wide variety of equipment. They have stuff not, if you're just interested in striking, they've got boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai stuff. If you're interested in MMA, of course, they've got MMA gloves like these. If you're interested in jiu-jitsu, they've even got some gis and stuff. So for me, Combat Corner is a brand that I know that I can trust, and I use it not only for when I do the punchy kickies, but when I'm holding pads. They're some of the best pads that I've ever used.
Yeah, I saw you when you were holding pads for a year. You had like a body shield,
Yeah.
but like it's connected to like the leg pads.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool looking.
Yeah, I really have enjoyed that, and I've used a bunch of different brands, and I just don't like the other ones as much. They've got some like hybrid pads. There's a few other hybrid pads I want to try. When I say hybrid pads, I mean they're somewhere between like Thai pads and focus mitts.
Yeah.
Like the ones I was using were more focus mitt like.
Yeah.
Right, and then I also want to try like tiny Thai pads. They're like Thai pads with like one strap,
yeah.
so I can like move quick.
Yeah.
Because Thai pads have other benefits where you can like flip it around and still like clinch with the person. But yeah, I'm so passionate about Combat Corner stuff that if you need help with like what gloves do I want, I probably sold it at CSC RVA. I probably worn it and used it, and I can give you like an exact description of like what it is you want. Like certain gloves that I had from Combat Corner were better at knuckle protection. Certain gloves were better at wrist protection. Certain gloves were just a better price. But my point is, I'd be happy to help anybody with a sale on that kind of stuff. I have a discount code. It's 2Bs, but it's Buy with Fury.
Yo, it's Editing Brandon here. Hope you enjoyed the episode. To support Technical Fury, make sure you follow and like his Instagram at technical_fury. And the link in his bio, he has a 10% off Combat Corner discount link. Now back to the podcast.
And it really helps me out. It helps me be more and more motivated to put stuff out there for you guys. But other than that, Combat Corner is just the equipment that I like to use.
So they obviously support your journey too, but like what other sponsors are you working with that helps you out with your journey?
Have you ever used Thai oil before?
Only for one of my fights.
Only for one of your fights?
A lot of promotions don't like using Thai oil.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good segue. So the ones that do MMA are not going to want that, of course. But most traditional Thai or Thai events are going to use that Thai oil, And if you go to Thailand, there's that very common brand of Thai oil that you'll see, and that brand is good, but it's got a lot of weird stuff in it. You like some unsure stuff that's written in Thai on the bag, and you have no idea what's in there. Okay, and some of it just burns for the sake of burning.
Okay.
Which, if you're one of those that like, I know it works because it hurts, then I guess that's the stuff for you. But Athlon Rub is a Thai oil. It doesn't really say the word Thai oil. It says sport liniment, which is essentially what Thai oil is. Thai oil, you even read it and it says boxing liniment. But Athlon Rub does a good job of using better quality ingredients, and it doesn't hurt as much, but that's because it's using the correct amount. So you're getting the same functions. It's not in a glass jar that you can drop and shatter or have it break in your travels, which is the worst. They have like a small bottle that's travel size. You can take it through a plane or whatever, and it's got a spray nozzle, so it's easy to put on people, right? I've trusted Athlon Rub for quite a few years now. When I do reffing and stuff for A.K.A, my ref shirt has both Combat Corner and Athlon Rub on it. So I really suggest it. I sell it at the gym. I put it on all my athletes before they fight. I personally use it when I go do my bag work and my pad work, since I really have to take care of my body when I'm training and stuff. Being a coach, I don't get to do as much. So when I do it, I want to do it at a high quality, and it helps my performance and my endurance. Even on the days that I'm sore, I put it on again because it really helps with that recovery as well. But yeah, Athlon Rub. They didn't give me a discount code, so sorry, I can't give you a funny phrase or some shit to type in. But if you go to my Instagram, there is a link in my bio. And when you go to checkout, it will give you 10% off.
And what's your Instagram?
My Instagram, obviously, is Technical Fury, right here with this logo right here.
One of my last questions I want to ask you, because you you are a great coach. You have a great following. What is the role of a coach in a fighter's life? Of course, both on the mats or in the ring, and also off of it. How much of it are you helping with strength and conditioning, nutrition?
I think that some of that depends on the fighter and his own upbringing. If you had a good father figure or just good parental figures, then a coach may just be a coach, right? If you did not, then sometimes you make a deeper connection with a coach that's a little closer to family, right? And that may just happen over time with somebody that did have a good upbringing. But every student, you student, need to remember that the coach wants you to do well. Do you know why? Because when you do well, it is a good representation of their work. So when they're mad at you, they're not mad at you like calling you out. They want you to be at your best. And so even if you have some weird feeling about a coach being selfish or something, if you really dissect it, they're going to give you their very best, even if they're selfish. So coaches want you to be your very best. They're going to try and give you all the best opportunities. They're going to try and give you, better training opportunities, fight opportunities. They're going to give you their best way of teaching. Not every coach is for everybody. There's different personalities, different levels of frustration or whatever kind of coaching style. And some people need a certain kind. But I'm not sure if that answered your question or not.
As a young coach myself, me and my teammate Hire, we're starting to take on more coaching responsibilities at the gym. Of course, primarily in Muay Thai kickboxing. But what is an important phrase or a concept that as a coach you have to continue to come back to?
100%. I got this quote. From Robert Bain, and I hope that we can tag him. Robert Bain teaches out of Phoenix Martial Arts in Richmond, Virginia, and I lived with him. He was my first roommate outside of my parents, which, that's life. But he had been coaching Taekwondo for many, many years, and he would always remind me, it was nice we would finish our day of teaching different martial arts, and we would come home to eat, drink, and whatever, and be young and have fun. And we would end up talking about our day, what we taught, and this thing and that thing or whatever. But he would always remind me that when you're a fighter, it's all about you. But when you're a coach, it's not about you anymore. So even when a coach is sparring a fighter, it's not about them. It's about the student. It's about the fighter. So it's not about you anymore. It needs to be ringing in your head. You are in service of them. They are not just for your ego. They're not for you to feel good. You are teaching this stuff because you love this stuff, right? And you are trying to pass that to the next generation. So it's not about you anymore, is the quote I want to say from Robert Bain.
Yeah, we'll be sure to tag him there.
Yeah.
That's something he actually told me a couple days ago, and as soon as you told me that, I started, reflecting on the things that I've done with.
Sure.
Not that I have.
Well, there's even deeper understanding. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, of course.
But there's even deeper understandings of it's not about you anymore when you teach a technique that's boring. but it actually is what the students need. They don't love you for teaching jab cross for a week, but it's not about them liking you.
Yeah.
It's about you being the best coach. And we all struggle with it. As a coach, we're going to have our own ego where we want to teach the cool thing, because then we're the cool guy at the party teaching the spin kick and the catch and the sweep and whatever. But that's not what the students need necessarily. Sometimes for fun, I would teach like catching kicks in class. And I'd teach like 3 different ways to catch it. And then I'd tell them to kick spar. And I'd tell them, catch the kick. And they wouldn't. Because it's that freaking hard. And I would remind them that this was fun. Okay, great, we did this during the holidays, whatever. But you still need to know how to block, shield block, arm block, evade. Those defenses are way more important than you learning the bucket catch to sweep. But it's fun to teach that.
Yeah.
It's fun to be the cool coach.
Yeah. I mean, I remember
Like the seminar today, I'm not planning on going over some craziness. I'm going to teach things that I think are going to work.
Yeah. I'm excited for your seminar.
Oh, well, thank you.
And, you know, when I was taking you back from Greenville, South Carolina down to Charleston, about a 3.5-hour drive, we were driving at midnight.
Yeah.
Exhausted because we just worked like a fucking 6-hour event. I was there from 7:30, you know, whatever.
Very glad we stopped at Yared's.
Yeah, oh my God. Shout out to Yared and his family for feeding me, because I hadn't ate anything but bag sealed walnuts all day. So
Yared's mom is the best mom I've seen for a fighter in a really long time. She comes to the events, makes all this food. Man, we got into the car to go to the Arnold for the TBA thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, what kind of sandwich do you want? And I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, I've got peanut butter sandwiches, ham sandwiches. I was like, my heart. Oh no. Oh.
Yeah,
But she's trying to help everybody keep a budget, you know, and all that. Man, but we're a very supportive mom, you know. Supportive family,
man.
Yeah.
They're awesome people. She made me coffee. She made sure I got coffee before I got on the road.
Yeah.
Awesome people.
Didn't mean to cut you off though, sorry.
I don't even know where I was going with that. but in the car, you told me, as a coach, you have to teach them what they need and not what you want. And of course, like, that's a easy concept to understand. Like,
It's hard though.
I
when
should be teaching.
You check your ego when you look back though. You're like, oh fuck.
Because I immediately started going through. It was like the things that I've been teaching the last month. How much of it was what they needed, and how much of it was what I wanted? Obviously, it's a little bit of both. But I'm like, where is the scale leaning more towards? And that was like such an awakening moment, like oh shit, like a awe moment of maybe I have been teaching a little too much of what I want versus what they actually need. Yeah. And I'm gonna keep that in mind. I'm gonna make sure to continuously question myself as I teach things to my students. Yeah,
my one of my coaches, Gru Brian Crenshaw, he would always remind me that you're not there to be their friend. You're there to be their coach. And I really struggled with that for many years because I really wanted everybody to have a good time and laugh and smile and have a good, have a blast. Yeah. But over the years, it's like a pendulum swinging. I would go from like being the happy, awesome coach that taught the stuff that they did not need to being a grumpy butt that was teaching the jabs and the footwork. And it's finding that balance. But that's life. Yeah. You always got to find balance. Yeah.
You know, as a fighter myself, who's also coaching, you were in that position at one point also. Where do you feel like, what helped you find a balance between being a fighter and being selfish and being a coach, being completely selfless?
What helped me find it? I think there is a combination of hard lessons where you went over the dumb shit for a while, and then you brought them to another gym to spar, and you're like, oh, fuck, they don't know how to jab. I mean, but those are a little bit harder lessons, or maybe it's the other side of it. I'm too grumpy and going over the jab and going over things that are not as exciting. Yeah. And I'm being too hard on them. Yeah. Like I'm not trying to be their friend. I'm trying to force them to be better. And then you lose students. Now, it's just finding that balance. Does one class need to be all fun? No. Does one class need to be all grimy, like the gritty grind of Muay Thai? No. Put a little bit of both in there.
Yeah.
And also sometimes like make a day that is a fun day and be okay with it. And sometimes do the opposite. Make a day that's completely in the grind and be okay with it. So, we've had a fight camp for Yared, and some of those training days, the whole class was going to have to go through a hard workout because Yared. But what did I do? Instead of me just being a grumpy butt, after the training was done, I thanked the class. I said, thank you for being a part of Yared's training camp. This was hard. All of you made a puddle of sweat today, and it was hard. Yared is happy that you did this.
Yeah.
We are in our Hell Week right now. He fights not this Friday, but he fights next Saturday. So we have to train really hard this week.
Yeah.
Please be here on Thursday for another one of these.
Yeah.
For Yared. And they came.
Yeah.
That's that team building.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you guys suck. You guys didn't make it through this workout.
Yeah.
So, but then it's the holidays, and it's between Christmas and New Year's, and the class has 7 people in it. Yeah, go over a spin kick. Have fun. Have a great time. Because you're only going to affect 7 of them, and make sure they have a good time.
Okay. Good.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, of course. Like I said, this is, I haven't really been coaching for long, like taking over as a coach. Of course, I've helped out classes here and there. If coach is like, hey, I need someone to cover, I'll cover. But like me being a coach, and I don't really like the term coach for myself. I like the term trainer because I don't feel like I've earned the title of a coach yet. I call myself a trainer. I train you guys. But
you could say assistant coach if that makes you feel better.
Assistant coach might be better, yeah. Because I don't know, I feel like my striking coach, Coach Isaac, he's been in the game a long time.
Yeah.
I've been in the game for 3 years. I don't really think I'm a coach.
For me, there's a large like you feel like what's the word I'm thinking of? Oh man, where that's not like you lost your identity, but it's like you don't believe like that you are in the position that you're in. Oh man, I know this term.
You were telling me imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. There's so much of that in not only in fighting, but as coaching. It's so hard to finally feel like a black belt, to finally feel like a coach, right? And once you get close to there, you start looking at coaches and you're like, oh no, I'm not a coach. Like, whoa, this coach is teaching great stuff, And I've really struggled with that for a while. I mean, shit, like being invited out here to do this, doing this podcast. I'm like, why? What? I'm just a kid,
That's kind of how I feel the same way.
This is
I'm
crazy.
like, this guy's massive on Instagram.
But I don't feel that way, Just like, But I think we have to accept that we're in the position that we're in, and reflect on some of the things that you're doing, that you've done, and have confidence in that. Now, you can't let the pendulum swing all the way to the other side and be like, I'm the shit, and this lighting's no good, and I don't want to do an interview here. But it's fine. The lighting spoke to us, okay. But it's like, it's okay. Yeah, that's a tough one. And that imposter syndrome is really difficult to combat.
For sure. It's something that I've struggled. There it is again. So before it speaks to us again, let's go ahead and close out. Before we close out, any last shout outs you want to give out?
Well, I think one of your questions was going to be like mentors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say that I feel like I'm in a strange spot where I'm sort of looking for more mentors. Of course, I trained under Crew Brian Crenshaw and still train there from time to time in CSCRBA in Richmond. But moving away from the gym definitely changed that dynamic. And he'll always be somebody that I look to for martial arts answers and other things. But Kristen DeBrucker, she's a crew under Ajahn Chai at Gracie Charlottesville. She's taught me a lot about how to run classes a certain way and have a better time.
Yeah.
And still go over basics. So she's a really big influence on me, and she's really helped me with like my mindset when it comes to teaching and balancing all of it. I mean, she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, a second degree black belt under Pedro Sauer, and she's a crew under A.K.A, and she balances all of it.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's definitely a mentor of mine.
From the 30 minutes I talked to her on
Oh,
Saturday
she's
night,
amazing, right?
She helped me out with coaching kids and gave me brand new her
She
ideas.
is one of the best in the world
Yeah.
at running kids classes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And
I believe it.
And you can tell by how that she has a teaching kids kind of course and program that you can purchase, and
Yeah.
we'll plug it, I guess.
I'm getting it. I'm getting
But
it for sure.
she's even like traveled to teach that. Like somebody flew her to like England to like run a kids teaching course.
Yeah.
You don't hear that kind of
Never.
stuff. Yeah. But having a big kids program is like a hidden secret on how to have a gym that's successful.
Yeah.
Because you need not just the classes that are the most exciting and fun to teach to be big. You need all of them to be big.
Yeah.
And kids don't take up much space. So if you only have a limited mat space and you get 45 kids on the mat, man, that's some money.
Yeah.
But, you know, those skills are very valuable.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, those would be my mentors. And of course, Ajahn Chai, I've only met him a few times, but every time he speaks, all these crews are like, yes, sir. Oh, they're like he's Jesus or something. But it's fine. It's fine. He really has done a lot for the sport, and he's affected the entire world for Muay Thai. So he deserves that respect. So there's him. But I'm at a point now where I'm sort of looking for like a bigger, like someone to like be the main mentor. But I'm also trying to be a mentor to mentor other people myself. So I'm in that transition period in my life.
You're kind of in that big, a good middle ground.
Yeah.
You're a mentor yourself. You're looking for mentees.
Yeah.
That's the word. But you also have had. You're also looking for mentors for yourself too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
I appreciate you
This
sharing.
has been a really awesome experience.
Yeah, thank you so much for
There's
saying that.
like 500 other things on his list of stuff to talk about that we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
So you'll have to circle back to me.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
At another time.
We'll
You know,
definitely do
we'll
that.
talk about like
Yeah.
Thailand. We'll talk about some of these other
Hell yeah.
cool experiences. But
So now I can guarantee an episode 2 of this podcast.
yes, yeah, I'd be happy to do it. It'd be great.
Cool. If you sat through all the way through and watched the video or listened to the audio, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Something that brand new that I'm working on. Daniel, Technical Fury, thank you so much for
No, thank you.
your time.
Thank you for having me.
Check it for episode 2. Yeah, we'll come back to it. Thank you very much.
Sweet.
Cool.